So one of the things we get asked about regularly is how you can automate the sending of purchase orders onto suppliers. So there's a few things that you need to take into consideration. Firstly, you've got your supplier or vendor records, and you need to make sure that you've got a valid email address for them set in the record. So if we go into Abbey UK here as one of our suppliers, and we look at their record, there's a valid email address down here, so that's the email address we're going to use. If you do send an order off to a supplier, either automatically or using the built-in button, then you will get a send icon to say whether or not it's been sent, and the grey colour means that it's been sent, and the green icon means it's been sent and they've clicked the accept button in the email. So I'll come on to that a little bit later. But first things first, let's have a look at an order which has been approved. So if we take into account that we have orders here with no status at all, they didn't go into a workflow, or we have orders with a green status, meaning that they've been fully approved, that once you go into one of those orders by clicking onto the order number, you have the email icon up here. So if we click on this email icon up here, the first thing you'll notice is that if it's been sent already, we populate the revise button here. The from email address, if you're using our SMTP server, which again I'll come on to in a second, then it can be anything at myzahara.net, and that will almost certainly get through to the supplier without any issues with spam, because we've put a lot of effort into making sure that our myzahara.net domain is valid and kind of not spammy at all. So you could have your company at myzahara.net, you could have XYZ Ltd at myzahara.net, and it should still go through and still kind of identify you. The to address is obviously we're grabbing that from the vendor record. The CC is me because I'm logged in at the moment, and the reply to is the originator because my colleague created this order, so therefore if we send it on to the supplier and he replies back, then we obviously want to make sure we get through to the person who originated the order. So this is how you can send the order manually by using the email button inside the order, and that will become live once the order is approved. So if I go and find an order which is perhaps rejected, for example, there's one here, and I go into that, then that email icon is grayed out, meaning you can't send it on, and you can't download a PDF of the order as well. The other way of sending the email to the supplier with a purchase order automatically is to do it from the workflow. So we've got a separate videos on creating workflows, but it's very simple. For any workflow that you have that the document goes into, there is a step called send purchase order to supplier, and all you do is you go and find that step up here, send purchase order to supplier, and add that step into your workflow. If we look at the fields, we give the step a name like send PO to supplier. The from address again can be anything at myzahara.net. The reply to address will default to the placeholder of the originator, the person who raised the order. But for example, if you wanted any replies to any orders to come back to an accounts department or a buying department, you can just put that email address in there. You can overwrite our placeholder and put that address in there. And then the subject, again, it's probably very sensible to put your name into that subject. So purchase order from your company, that's the one we use genuinely for our company here. And then the wording of the email, that's set under business settings, templates, and then supplier purchase order. So if we look at the one that we use, so dear vendor name, dear Abby, please find attached our purchase order, then the purchase order number. So we know you've actioned this purchase order. Can you please accept or reject it by using the buttons? And then you put this placeholder in here, vendor acceptance, and then that will put in the green accept button or red reject button. And the actions that the supplier takes on those will turn your send icon green or red. And again, making sure that you've got the contact details down here. If you have any queries, please contact the originator below, and then you can put the originator's name and email address and anything else you want. So all you've got to do is find this template here under supplier purchase order, edit any of the words to suit you, and then insert any of the placeholders that we have here that you need. So that's the two different ways that you can send a purchase order off to the supplier and how you can control the wording. The final part of this conversation then is about the SMTP settings. Whose SMTP, whose mail transport are you going to use? So if you go to Business Settings and then Advanced, you'll find the SMTP area here. Now, by default, every Zahara user will be sending their emails through our SMTP. If you click Test Settings, it's Success. And that means you can use any email address with @myzahara.net as the domain, myzahara.net. There's no reply on any email that you send out, so you need to make sure that people are aware of this. So if you reply to a MyZahara, if anyone replies to a myzahara.net email, they'll get an automated message saying this is an unmonitored email account. However, if you want to use your own SMTP, like Office 365, you put the address in there, you put your port in, say 587, and then you put perhaps your username and password in, and click SSL, click Test Settings, and if it's valid, it will work. Again, you can use Gmail, or you could use your own enterprise Microsoft Exchange account, provided you create the rules on your firewall to allow the Zahara server to try and send or relay mail through it. What I would make you aware though is if you use an account like this, martin.pierce@talk.c2s.co.uk, which is my Office 365 email address, if you use that and then you try and have your email step down here, say this one here, and you put the from address as something like orders at talk.c2s, it will reject it. So back here in the SMTP land, you've only authorized it on this one here, on that account. So there's no point you trying to send email that it's from David, for example, because Office 365 will reject it, and probably the same for Gmail and any other mail transport. So if you're going to use your own SMT account here, I would suggest it will be something like this. You need to set an email account such as orders@myco.co.uk, and then when you're setting your from addresses in your email workflow steps, they are always orders@myco.co.uk or emails at whatever your domain is, and then you're not likely to find that Office 365 or Gmail, whoever it is going to reject it. So I hope I've made that clear. I don't want to confuse you, but I just want to make that quite clear. So I think that's basically all you need to do, is decide to use our SMTP or your own. And if you're going to use your own, then you have to make sure that whatever user you set here, that's going to be the from address for all your emails. Okay, I hope you found that useful. Thanks.